That was easy. So tonight's presentation is going to be on what to do when you don't have the experience. And I'm going to share my screen here. Okay. So what to do when you, are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
What do you see on the screen, actually? Let me ask that question.
What to do when?
Okay, wonderful. I got the right screen. Technology is working fabulous for me today. So the issue that a lot of people addressed to me, and oddly enough, I addressed myself when I was transferring into my new current role as an agile coach, is I don't have the experience / skills to do this job. I've never done this job. I've never had this job title. It requires that you have X number of years experience in XYZ job title. And you know you've done it, right? Because yeah, I know the skills, I know the competencies, but I've never had that title. So what is that process of actually qualifying for the job you are not qualified for? This is what I call the cover letter exercise. And the reason why I call it that is because the process works not only for your resume, but for your cover letter as well. And in fact, for communicating in networking meetings and everything. So it's a bit of a documentation exercise, but it's worth the pain and hassle of going through. And you actually might find out that it's actually pretty inspiring and that you've actually accomplished more than you think you have. I know I did. So the process in general, and you can take a screenshot of this if you want, is to put your comparable experience into a cover letter. So in other words, do the exercise as if you're going to write a cover letter, pulling from 5 ideal job postings that you're looking for, the job duties of those job postings. And what you do is you write down on a piece of scratch paper or note paper or whatever, how you got those job duties experience, not the title, the actual functional duties that you performed. So in the military, at least in the Army, we have a term we call 1 up and 2 down. So in other words, that means you can work 1 skill up and 2 skills down. I often got to work 2 skills down. I never got to do my sergeant's job. He always seemed to have that one covered. So I always got to do guard duty, lots and lots of guard duty. So, I might, if I wanted to apply for MP role, I might use my guard duty experience. I'm just kidding. I would never want to be an MP. But what you do is you refine that into a cover letter, and then you refine that further into your resume. And so we're going to go through that real quick with some examples. So your before resume is not specific to your qualifications, and I'm going to see if I can zoom in a little bit so you can see this. So this was my Scrum Master resume. Oof. And so what you see here in red is this is not specific to a Scrum Master job role or duties. These are work duties that I performed, but these are actually going to be cut out. You'll never need to implement an IVR system as an agile coach. Well, maybe that's not categorically true, but I'm pretty sure that as an agile coach, I'll never need to implement an IVR system again. So this is junk. This doesn't actually help a recruiter determine my skill set, right? Same thing about creating firewall scripts. I'll probably never need to do that as an agile coach. And so if we look further down here, right, you can see my job titles are process, coach, consultant. And then here's the experience and qualifications that come from job postings for somebody who's a hardcore technologist, what they call a direct contributor. And so then I'll zoom out a little bit. So what you do is you go and find job postings from 5 ideal jobs. In my case, it would be agile coach. So I went to Indeed.com and various job boards and pulled up a variety of 3 to 5 job postings where you have established team level cadence, provide leadership and coaching, be a change agent, learn by doing. Yep, I've done a lot of that. A lot of learn by doing. Okay, own and remove impediments. Why? Yeah, no, I did that. In fact, I ran a team. I set up a team where we did IT support, and we did it. It was an operations team, but we did it so that it was not following the rules of traditional IT. We said, we're going to be responsive to the customer. We're going to give them what they want and what they need. not just what our documentation says, which is an agile fundamental principle. People over process and documentation. So here we have established program level cadence again, team ceremonies, effectively communicate, lead, coach, and influence change. Oh man, I've done so much of that. I can't even tell you how much I've done. I like running up against brick walls. It's fun. It's really a fun. And I'll tell you, it as the joke goes, right? It feels so good when you stop. That's why I do it. So I have done daily stand-ups, more resolving impediments, train and mentor others. I've done swack ton of training and mentoring in various IT roles, but my resume never said that because it wasn't tailored for an agile coach role. So let's take another look here. So I converted this first into a report format. This was helpful for me because it gave me a large base of words to work off of and then refine down. If you're smarter than me on words, you can skip this step, I'll be honest. If you can just get straight to the point, I need to go the long road. But what this did, I'm going to zoom in a little bit here, and you can see that I've highlighted, first I highlighted a summary, but then I highlighted sections that showed up on the resume that kept recurring on the job postings. And so let me zoom in here a little bit, right? So act as a Scrum Master coach for one or more agile teams. During my 9 years at Best Buy, I served 7 years as a team leading coach for actually 2 teams, one a local team, and then we added an international team to that. So I was responsible for creating a culture of coaching, continuous learning, and the spirit of service that allowed the team to transition support for all the servers on the data center raised floor, all platforms. I was an advocate and champion for change. Oh yeah. My proudest moment was, so you got to understand the serving engineering team was, let's say, skeptical. Let's use skeptical as a nice word. More than skeptical. Okay, they were downright hostile to thinking that somebody could do as good a job as supporting servers as they could. But I had a secret weapon. I had data center operations people who knew the power of operations and consistency and quality, and were awake 24/7, 365, no holidays. They were always there. Their engineering teams couldn't beat me. I was undefeatable when it came to support. All I needed to do was to help them learn the power of client server versus mainframe. So what I did was I instituted a team culture of continuous learning, innovation, and improvement. And I removed roadblocks, lots and lots and lots of roadblocks, lots of roadblocks. So my part, much of the roadblocks that I removed was the block between the 6 inches between the ears in other teams believing that nobody else could do the support as well as they could. Once they found out that we could deliver quality and consistency and improvement, well, everybody wanted in. Well, I didn't personally remove that roadblock, my team did, but I got to represent them to these other support managers, and they were glad to have us, right? So I created a learn by doing environment. So all of this stuff is written out in a format that explains how I actually have done that role. I just didn't specifically have the title Agile Coach because it hadn't been invented yet. See, here's a little secret about Agile in our case is one of the co-inventors of it is actually an Air Force veteran. Now, I should have said Army veteran, but we can't all be perfect. But however, he used the same principles of the military leadership that I was aware of and that I was using. And so many of those same consistent values and principles were in play. And I didn't know it. I was actually co-innovating along the same timeline as he was. It's just that he built a bigger community than I did. So that's how we revise that into skills and talents and abilities that you've actually got. So then all we do is we condense it into a cover letter. Now, I would not send this cover letter out to someone, but I've actually, the basics that you see here is I've shortened up some of the headers and shortened up the narratives, right? So I refined it down into a smaller text base. I might actually recommend choosing 2 or maybe pieces of 3 of these, not all of these, depending on the job posting. But I was actually going to make this a cover letter. This is not a cover letter. I want to be real clear about that. This is a cover letter exercise for transferable skills. Okay. But it's the refining process. And then finally, what that leads to is a revised resume. So I'm going to zoom in on that. And so here you see, I've got change champion and removed roadblocks and product backlog, innovative culture. I just started using the terms that came from their job postings, but I've done them, right? Here's lead. So career development, right? If they left our team, that was celebrated as a graduation. And I considered them now a future ally because they were going on to an engineering team. So when I needed help from the engineering team or my team members needed help, they had an ally they could call on, right? Somebody who was thinking about support, not just design and build. Innovative culture, develop the culture of intrinsic rewards. Prioritize support intake from engineering team, product backlog. That's a big term in agile coaching. So the happy conclusion of this is I've now been an agile coach since May of this year. I did this probably in February, March timeframe. And I was able to successfully land a career because I was successfully able to legitimately claim that I do have work experience as an agile coach. So now sometimes you might talk to a recruiter that says, did you not hear me? I do not want a one-page resume. I want a chronological resume. I need to see it in chronological format. I kind of laugh because my full-on chronological resume is over 7 pages, and no, don't have a 7-page chronological resume. I don't send that out. That's what I call my kitchen sink resume. But I wanted to show you kind of the synopsis of how I actually integrated this into my chronological resume as well. So the content that gets created is applicable not just in your networking, your cover letter, your job application, but also in your chronological resume as well. So this is basically just taking the content from this resume format and inserting it into when and where I did it. So that concludes the formal presentation. I'm going to stop the recording and then we can conclude with any final questions.